Ever wonder how to make those fun hexagon shelves you see? Well, come along and I'll show you how we batch out our custom orders each week. First step is prepping the material. The 1x4 comes off the truck, gets run through the drum sander at about 180 grit to remove any marks, imperfections, or anything else that might have been picked up during shipping. A lot of times Dan will help out with this part. Next, over to the chop saw. Since I make a lot of these each year, I end up making a jig, and it's able to give me a stop block for the 3 different sizes we have, 12-inch, 14, and the 16s, and it makes doing this process a lot faster. The blade is set at 30 degrees. For the 12-inch shelves, I got them 6 inches point to point, for the 14s, 7 inches point to point, and for the 16s, 8 inches point to point. It's relatively simple. To add strength, all the shelves are biscuit jointed. Again, just a simple little jig I made to help line up the parts on the biscuit joiner. The biscuits add a lot of strength to the shelf, and it means that they're not just relying on a little bit of glue and some nails to hold them together. Plus bonus, it makes them look a lot cleaner when they're finished. Gluing these up is pretty simple. A little bit of glue in both the slots, add a biscuit, and put them all together. And just around and around and around we go until all of them are done. After I get the last piece in, then I check all the joints, kind of wiggling them back and forth, both front and back, to make sure they get them nice and tight. After they're given a chance to dry overnight, they go back through the drum sander again, this time on the flat. And this kind of takes out any differences between the 1x4. Sometimes the widths of the board are just a little bit different from one to the next. Then a quick sand with orbital. This removes any of the lines that the drum sander leaves behind. I also knock off the outside corners just a little. I find it makes it a lot easier to hang them because you don't have to line the points up 100%. Now, onto the finishing and prepping for paint and stain. First, a little bit of wood putty just to fill in any gaps that might be on the edges or the outside. And then, taking a knife or a chisel to cut off any extra glue that might have popped out on the inside. If the shelves are being painted, I'll caulk the joint on the inside. It's a habit I have left over from when I used to do trim work, and I like the clean base it gives the paint. For the most part, I try to cut around the knots when I'm batching out the parts, but any knots that do get through get a quick coat of a primer sealer, like Kills, to prevent them bleeding through the paint. Then, onto the painting. These mini rollers make it really quick and easy to get the shelves painted. And since they're going to get one last sand just before staining, I don't really have to fuss too much about making sure I don't get any paint on the edges. I just have to make sure I get a nice solid coat on the inside. Most colors get 3 coats of paint and a quick sand between coats just to get a better finish. After that, the last sanding and prepping for staining. And yes, if you're wondering, the orbital sander gets a hell of a workout most weeks, and I'm super grateful that we have the drum sander now because it eliminates so much of it that I used to do by hand. The front and back faces and the outside all get a good sanding to make sure that on any marks, any extra paint, anything that might have gotten on the shelf gets removed, and then I buff the edges on the inside and outside just around it slightly, gives it a better feel. The staining is one of the most detailed parts of this whole thing. This is where I have to make absolutely sure that I don't get any stain on the inside because I'd really rather not have to paint any touch-ups, but I have to get right up to that edge. I've done it more than once by now, so I've gotten fairly quick at it. Last step before these all get shipped off to their new homes is to mark and drill the pocket holes on the back. Again, I have a jig for this that helps me do it. Anytime I can make a jig to make any of these processes faster, trust me, I do it. These holes hook over top of screws in the wall. It gives it a nice flat, clean look with no hardware showing. And just like that, they're ready to go. Time to pack them up for shipping. There are basically endless possibilities of how to use these in your space. With the different colors, stains, sizes, mid dividers, and simply how you hang them, you can get a completely different look. It's all about how you use your imagination. Hi, I'm Liz. I run a handmade decor business and I make some quick videos on the products that I make, as well as projects I do around my house. You can find some of these in the links around here. Thanks for watching. Cheers!